So again, a way of thinking that quickly and clearly recognizes change and the response required for that change. Okay, it's a workable definition. But what would this thinking look like when applied in an agile transformation environment? So it's one thing to say, hey, this is my definition. It's a little generic. It doesn't mention any agile methodology, anything of that nature. But how would you apply that in the real world? Which is a legitimate question. It depends on your environment. If you're in a controlled environment, let's say you're doing work, you're an agile coach or agile professional, and you're doing work for a large company and they have some internal projects. I would label that as a controlled environment. You don't have the unpredictability of outside forces. What would that look like? Well, the change will happen relatively slowly. Recognizing change won't be as dynamic. And responding to change, you can use a myriad of strategies and execute against those strategies. And in utilizing those strategies, you can use whatever frameworks and methodologies that you think are best suited for that environment. So what you saw was I put SAPES, I put Scrum, I put Kanban. And the reason for that is when you're working in a controlled environment, something like SAPES framework may be appropriate, especially depending on the size of the company itself. But let's say you work in a more dynamic environment, or instead of doing projects for the company, you're producing products for end user outside the company. Things get a little more dynamic. Then what do you do then? Well, utilizing the agile mindset, you have to say, okay, I have to respond to change. I have to recognize the change. I have to understand it, and I have to respond accordingly. In this situation, things happen much faster. Things you might apply may be different. You might apply less. You might apply Spotify. You might apply Scrum at scale. Things that may be a little more agile in their ability to be adaptive might be a better thing to choose in those situations. Regardless of the situations you're in, the definition of the agile mindset will be applicable to either of those situations. But in the application of the agile mindset, the change, desire, and need of the customer or end user is essential in determining the usefulness of the frameworks, methodologies, and techniques an agile professional employs. Therefore, the value or usefulness of agile frameworks, methodologies, and techniques are subject to their effectiveness in achieving the goal of value delivery. Thank you.